What is going on, guys? Welcome back. In this video today, I'm going to talk about 5 awesome Linux terminal tools that you should definitely know about. So let us get right into it. Alright, so we're going to take a look at 5 awesome Linux terminal applications in this video today, and this can be very interesting to both Linux users but also for Windows users, because on Windows you have the Windows subsystem for Linux, the WSL, which you can use to run Linux inside of Windows in a virtualized environment, and then you can also benefit from these terminal tools. Also, I think some of them might be available for Windows natively, or at least you don't need to have the Windows subsystem for Linux to run them on Windows, but I would say they're primarily Linux terminal tools. So when I created this list, I wanted to include tools that are somewhat interesting and somewhat exciting, not some basic terminal tools that we all know that are very basic, even though they're very useful. So for example, if you have a Linux terminal here, you can use tools like ls or grep or curl or wget and stuff like that. Those are very powerful and useful tools, but you don't necessarily expect to find them in a list from a video that says 5 awesome Linux tools, right? So those are great tools, and there are a bunch of great tools on Linux, but I wanted to focus more on tools that are not pre-installed on most operating systems, on most distributions, that are a little bit more, I wouldn't call them niche tools because they're quite popular and everyone that uses Linux for quite some time probably knows them, but they're not as mainstream as grep, wget, curl, and so on. And the first tool that I would like to talk about is a tool that works as a task manager or as a system monitor in the command line, because there's this basic Linux application, I think it comes pre-installed on most systems, called top, and top is essentially just a system monitor slash task manager in the command line. Now, I don't ever use top. I don't know what kind of keybinds there are, so maybe you can kill processes or terminate them, or it's just a monitoring tool, or you can sort or something like that. But top is very, very basic, as you can see here. Now, something that's a little bit more advanced than top is htop, and htop is what a lot of people use instead of top because it adds colors and stuff like that, so you can also run htop here. Usually you have to install htop, and it's basically top, but you now have also some keybinds down here. You have some colors. You can go through to the different processes. You can filter and stuff like that. So you can OBS, for example, something like that. But I think that there's an even better tool than htop or top, and this is btop. And btop is like htop, but even more user-friendly and even better looking, I would say. So what you have here essentially is you have the CPU usage in the upper right corner, you have the processes in the lower right corner, you have the network usage down here, you have memory usage, so I think this is this is RAM usage, this is disk usage here, and you also can see that all these words here, or a lot of the words here, have a blue character, at least blue in my color scheme here. And when you press that character on the keyboard, you're triggering that function. So for example, here I have all the different processes. I can navigate here with the arrow keys through the processes. You can also see this nice shadow effect here. And I can also use the mouse even to click here on the different onto the different processes. And if I go here now and I press F for filter up here, I can look for a certain name, for example, OBS. Or I can look for, maybe if I start a software, speed crunch or something like that. It's just a basic math / calculator tool. I can now look for speed crunch, and I can do something with that process. So first of all, I can press enter to get some more details on the process, or I can do stuff like terminate the process with a T button press, or I can kill the process with K. Or more general, I can press S to send a signal to the process, including sick kill and sick term. I can also interrupt, I can abort, I can terminate, I can alarm, I can quit, I can do a bunch of different things here. So let's go ahead now and terminate the process, for example, with T. This will kill the graphical user interface. As you can see, speed crunch is no longer opened up. And this is what you can do, for example, with this tool. You can also reverse the sorting order. You can get a tree view here to see which process started which other process. You can also change what the criteria for sorting is by using the arrow keys here. And we can do a bunch of different things. So I can press D to get some more disk info. I can press I to get some more IO info. I can press the various keys here. One thing that's very interesting is I can also change this time here in the upper right corner. This, I would say, refresh time or something like that. Because right now it's 2000 milliseconds, meaning that every 2 seconds I get an update in this interface here. If I press minus a couple of times, you can see that this is now on 100 milliseconds and everything's a little bit faster. So you can see, or I would say much faster. So you can see I get updates all the time here. Everything's more active. I can also slow this down by pressing plus a couple of times to maybe set this to 1 second. Or if I want a super slow update, I can also do it every 10 seconds, something like that. Then I would rarely even get an update here. So you can see nothing is happening. Every 10 seconds, I'm going to get a refreshing view here. I like to use something around 1000 usually, something like this. But this is a very nice tool, and I think that it's definitely superior compared to Top and HTOP. One thing that's super interesting here is the menu. You can press M to open up the menu. You can go to options and you can pick a color theme here. So I'm obviously using one dark. I'm using one dark everywhere in the terminal, in Neovim, in BTOP, in PyCharm, in Firefox, everywhere I'm using one dark. But you can also use a different one, for example, Gruffbox. If you like that more, you can easily change the color scheme of this application here. And you can also change different other settings, CPU settings, memory settings. And you can also, with the P button, load different presets, different views of this application. So this is a very advanced system monitoring tool for the command line, and it's one of my favorite tools to use, and it's also quite fancy, so it looks kind of professional. If you want to flex a little bit with your operating system, this is what you want to have running on your second screen. So this is the first tool. The second tool I want to talk about is a very basic tool. It's not as fancy or sophisticated as BTOP, but it's very useful, and it fulfills one specific purpose, which is finding something, and it does that in a fuzzy way. I'm talking about Fuzzy Finder, FZF essentially. And Fuzzy Finder basically is just a tool that finds strings in paths. So if I run it in a certain directory, so if I go to downloads, for example, and I say Fuzzy Finder, I'm going to see all my download, all the files and directories listed that are in the download directory, and then maybe I could go and type something like antics to find this antics ISO, which is not fuzzy because I'm actually typing the name. I could also type something like NTI and then maybe 6. And then you would see that it recognizes NTI and 6 in here, but it also recognizes that Lubuntu, for example, has or Lubuntu has NT, and it has an I, and it has a 6, even though the order is not quite the same, and the 6 comes before the I, and it's not exactly what we're looking for. But this is the definition of a fuzzy search, right? So you can look for files in a fuzzy way, and you can do that everywhere in the system. So I can actually go to the root directory here, I can start a fuzzy finder, and then I can look through the whole system for certain files. So I can say .log to get log files or something like that, and then I can maybe look for something else before that, something like oo, or oo is wrong, oo for oo, and stuff like that. This is actually now in my Windows drive because I also have my Windows drive attached here at Mount Windows, as you can see. But you can see I have some log files here, and we can also look for hidden files if we go and say find.pipe fuzzy finder. In this case, we get permission denied because I don't have the sudo privileges to do that. So maybe I want to say find fuzzy finder like this. Now, of course, it wants a password. This was not very intelligent from my side. Let me just run this again. Now, I'm not sure if my password, let me just retype it. Okay, three incorrect attempts. It's fine. It doesn't really matter. But this is how you can also do that. So you can type find period. Maybe I can do that in. Now it doesn't even show what I'm typing. What is that? I think I messed up things here. So if I say find dot fuzzy finder. This also shows hidden directories. Maybe we can see that better in the user directory. So here find dot fuzzy finder, because now I can also find my init.vim file, which is in config nvim init.vim, for example. Just a nice little tool to use. It's very useful if you want to stay in the terminal and you want to find files quickly. Fuzzy finder. So usually you also have to install it, sudo apt install fuzzy finder, at least on Debian-based distributions. And that is the second tool. Now, the third tool is something that you probably already know. I'm sure that most Windows users that are using the terminal regularly also know this tool, because I think this is not a Linux exclusive tool. I think this is just a general terminal tool that you can also use on Mac and Windows. But it's a very useful tool, and it is FFmpeg. And FFmpeg is essentially a tool that you can use to convert videos to audio, so to extract the audio from a video, to convert video files from one format to another format, to change the resolution, to change the frame rate, to extract images, to combine images into videos, to combine images into GIF, or to combine multiple images into a GIF animation, for example. This is what you can do with FFmpeg. And in order to explain FFmpeg to you, I'm actually going to already present the next tool. So we're going to combine the two, because the next tool is a tool that is very good at explanation. So we're going to cover two tools here at the same time. The next tool I want to talk about, so the fourth tool in the list, is TLDR. And TLDR stands for too long didn't read. You know this from all sorts of forums. If you don't want to read this, you just type TLDR. Didn't read the whole thing, but this is my opinion to your title or something like that. And you can use this tool. You have to install it. So you have to say on Debian-based distribution sudo apt install TLDR. And then once you have TLDR installed, you can just say TLDR-U to download the pages. And then you basically have a nice tool that shows you how to use other tools. Because let's say I want to use FFmpeg. Now, if I want to use FFmpeg, what I have to do is I have to either look up the documentation, or I have to say help, and I have to look through all this stuff here. If I'm lucky, I might find a man page. So I might say FFmpeg or man FFmpeg, and I will find a man page like this one here if I'm lucky. Oftentimes I'm not even going to find that. And I can read through all of this, I can play around with it, but oftentimes it's just more convenient to use TLDR. TLDR FFmpeg will show me how to use FFmpeg in a simple way. So let me just rerun this here. This just gives me a bunch of examples here on how to use FFmpeg. And this already tells you what FFmpeg is doing. Extract a sound from a video and save it as an MP3. FFmpeg-I for input, video, and then you extract the sound into an MP3 file. Or you save a video as a GIF. You can scale it with this command. Or you can combine multiple images here, and you can turn them into a GIF or into a video. Or you can extract a single frame from a video and save it in a specific resolution. And you can also convert the codecs. This is actually something that I'm doing for my videos. So if you go to my video directory, I think I have this test directory here. Here I have a script, convert.sh, where I am essentially using FFmpeg to take the videos that I'm recording, like this one right now, and to turn them into a format that DaVinci Resolve can handle on Linux, because the premium version only supports a specific codec. Don't ask me why. It's not Linux's fault. It's DaVinci's fault that they don't support the basic codec that everyone uses on Linux for free. But you can also just use FFmpeg to batch convert all these files into the codec that you need. And this is what I'm doing essentially. I'm using FFmpeg to produce my videos, and there are many different use cases for this. And this is basically FFmpeg. Now to TLDR, you can do not just FFmpeg stuff with that. You can use any tool or most tools. You can probably find some TLDR page for. So TLDR curl, if you don't know what curl is, here you have some examples on how to use curl. Or TLDR, I think BTOP will probably not be available, but I think HTOP will be available because it's a little bit more mainstream. So TLDR HTOP, TLDR cat, TLDR LS, TLDR wget or awk, all of this stuff. So you have all these terminal tools which you can use, also fuzzy finder, I'm pretty sure, so tldr fuzzy finder, and you can get simple, straightforward examples of what you want to do. It's not a complicated documentation, because if you look at all these outputs here, it's very simple, very straightforward what you can do with that. So look at curl, for example. You can download content, you can download a file, you can send data, you can send requests, you can pass usernames and so on. If I go and say curl -- help, I'm confused. I don't know what to do with curl. If I don't know what curl is, I don't know what to do with that. And maybe I can say curl -- help all to be completely confused. Or maybe I can say man pages curl to get even more confused. But with TLDR, I know what curl is about, and I know how curl works in a very simple way, with a very simple explanation. So those are the two tools, FFmpeg for the video audio stuff, and TLDR to get a basic understanding of what a software is doing, or a terminal tool is doing. Now, the fifth tool here, I think it's quite obvious which one it's going to be. Those of you guys who follow my channel for quite some time know what my favorite terminal tool is on Linux. By far, it is Neovim, which is essentially an editor. It's VI. VI is just Vim, or VI is just an editor. Vim is VI improved, and Neovim is the modern version. Actually, that's not the command. NVim is the command. Is the modern version of VI, or of Vim, actually. And I know what you guys are going to say in the comment section down below. I'm using still an init Vim file. I'm not using Lua. I didn't have the time to read into it yet. I have a quite old config. It works well for me. But yes, I know it's not using Lua, and I should update eventually. But Neovim is my favorite terminal tool. It's actually one of my favorite editors. I know for large project bases, for large code bases, it's not very viable. So when I'm working on a Flask project, a Django project with multiple components, with multiple blueprints and a lot of different HTML files, interconnected stuff, I'm not going to use Neovim. I'm going to use something like PyCharm or maybe VS Code, usually PyCharm. I'm not going to use Neovim. But if I just want to code 2, 3, 4 files, or maybe a project that consists of up to 10 files, Neovim is very convenient because it's lightweight and you can customize it completely. So let me show you. I have a video on this channel. I have multiple videos on this channel on Neovim and Vim, how to use it, what the keybinds are, why you should use it, how to replicate my setup, how to or what plugins you should know. I have a video, 7 awesome Vim plugins that you must know about. But essentially, this is my config here, so I'm not going to talk too much about Neovim here because I have so many videos already. This is my config file. I can use here a simple file tree on the left, and I can also, for example, I have basic autocompletion. If I say test file.py, import, you can see here import, and I can import NumPy, for example. So I have autocompletion here. You can see it's recognizing Python 3.10. This is just, in my opinion, the most powerful terminal tool because it's such a great editor and you can do so many things with that. So for example, if I go to, where could I go? I could go to the prep here, to my directory here. If I go into this directory here, where I essentially have the script for the last 2 videos and for this one, if I say now Neovim, open this directory, I can just type AG down here because of a plugin I have, and I can search through the text. So I can say, for example, token, and it will find every line where token exists in the file, or something that could be token. It's again a fuzzy search, so you can see here it says OKEN. We don't really have a token here, but yeah, this is all in the terminal, right? So it's a very powerful tool. I won't talk too much about it because I have too many videos on this already. So those are the 5 tools. Now I wanted to also include 2 extra tools. I didn't want to call this video 7 awesome tools, even though 7 is a great number. The reason I don't want to consider those to be like two other great tools because they're quite basic. I wouldn't say that they're tools per se. I think they're more like showing off some interesting stuff. One of them is actually quite useful. The other one is just for fun. It's really useless unless you want to have some fun. But the first one is actually quite useful. And the two tools I'm talking about, or first of all, the first tool I'm talking about here, actually, this is what I wanted to do. The first tool that I'm talking about here is Neofetch. And Neofetch is a tool that shows you system information. So you can see here, it's the username, the host name, or the operating system name here, what OS it is, what host it is, what the kernel is, how long the system has been running, how many packages we have installed, what the shell is, what the resolutions of the, in this case, 3 monitors are, what the desktop environment is, what the theme is, what the CPU is, the GPU, how many or how much RAM there is, what the color scheme looks like. You can also see here the ASCII logo of the operating system. And it is a useful tool if you just want to look at it, but it's also just a nice tool when you look at Linux terminal or Linux setup screenshots. You will always see Neofetch running somewhere on the screen just to impress people with the setup, because it just looks nice to have your operating system information with the logo in the terminal. So this is a nice to have. And the other one is a really just a completely useless fun script, but it's nice to have something that you can screenshot if you want to. It's the tool called CMatrix, essentially just doing some matrix stuff. And I'm pretty sure TLDR will have some explanation on this. There you go. So it shows you can use different parameters here. So CMatrix -c ret gives us a ret matrix. And if you want to flex in front of non-Linux users, what you can do is you can just activate here something like a tiling window manager. And then you can open up a couple of terminals. You can open up btop on the right. This is actually the screenshot that I made a couple of days ago on my channel to announce that I'm now using Linux. Here now we can say Neofetch, and here we can say CMatrix, and then we can move this down a little bit. And there you go. Now you have a nice desktop that you can screenshot here, so that you can show people that you're using Linux. By the way, of course, if you have Arch, it's even better. You can flex even more. But yeah, those are my 5 or 7, whatever you like, Linux terminal tools that are, in my opinion, awesome and that you should have heard about. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and hope you learned something. If so, let me know by hitting a like button and leaving a comment in the comment section down below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell to not miss a single future video for free. Other than that, thank you much for watching. See you in the next video, and bye.